Hello, welcome back to my channel. I'm Lola Shaffer. Today we're going to be reviewing Ready to Love Season 4, Episode 10, and it's called Getting or Gaining Clarity. I think it's Getting Clarity. Alright, so before we start, house rules. Don't forget to like the video. Make a comment, tell me what you feel. Sometimes I've got some complaints about audio, so we're going to be working on it and we'll get better. So just hang on tight, and please don't forget to subscribe. So going into the episode, we know that we stopped kind of at the end of the scene when they were having, the truth or dare exercise. Alexis was talking with Amber, and she got to the part where, I think you're Judas. I told you everything about this guy, Ron, and then you still went out and had a date with him and you kissed him, and what was going on between him and I, so I would consider you a Judas. And she's pointing, gesticulating. I know, and to Amber's credit, not her defense, but to her credit, cool, calm, and collected. After that, her shocked look, she took it in. She said, I hear you, sometimes we make mistakes. Alexis didn't let her say that, but then she got her words out. She was able to explain. Now, the truth of the explanation, I don't know. She says that she had spoken with Ron. Now, question is, talking with Ron, what were you talking about anyway? Anyway, had a conversation with Ron, and Ron, she was meant to be taking a friend out who was meant to be getting, getting shipped off. He was in the military. And so when they went out, apparently it was a surprise kiss. Didn't want to be rude, accepted the kiss. This is, and given an explanation, but then what she did after the explanation, she copped to it and said, I was wrong and I apologize and I take responsibility for it, and I didn't tell you because of XYZ. It wasn't serious. I didn't want you to make a decision based on something really trivial. I didn't want to mess that up. Okay. But there is some question now, behind the scenes, because now with this Ready to Love thing, everything is behind the scenes. There's some question as to whether, Alexis had prior knowledge of this and had been told to play this up to spice up the scene. Reality TV is no longer become reality. They keep this up, we won't be having, when we know reality TV is not reality. We know it's scripted reality. But keep this up, then they might just go on to scripted shows. Let's watch and continue. But anyway, back to current hand. So there is some mention as to whether she knew beforehand. This is neither here nor there. So anyway, she cops up, and I guess it's kind of uncomfortable too when she was confronted in front of the group, but she took it well and defended herself, rightfully so. She's an attorney. I don't know what we expected her to do. Do we expect her to have look like someone who had a finger caught in a cookie jar, or come out? And she did come out, not come out swinging, but actually copped to her behavior, accepted that what she did was probably not palatable and didn't look good, and apologized. So here we go. So really moving on. So actually, before we move on, so one of the things she did mention was, she talked about the kiss. Yeah, it was casual, But what I thought was interesting was when KG was looking at the scene. I guess, all was not perfect in paradise. He's kind of looking. And of course, Alexis makes some mention of girl code. So question now is, I've had a live about girl code versus guy code. Was girl code violated? That's the question. Was girl code violated? Okay, so on the surface, in real life, yes, we would say it was violated, because this was someone your friend had an interest in. This was someone your friend had a deep interest in. Someone who should been calling her, well, no, sorry, I stand corrected. She had not been calling him her number one, but he had been calling her his number one. So, but then again, in this situation, I can't say that girl code was violated, because the whole premise of the show is this incestuous relationship they're all meant to be having. They're meant to get along, meant to date each other. And I think they like that idea because that actually causes some friction and cause the sparks and make things interesting. I don't know. So moving on. Next scene, they have the jacuzzi scene. And so Kyra's realizing that, maybe the attention has been split equally between her and Liz, and so she decides to spice things up in a tangerine two-piece.
Kill them, not.
That's how I felt about the two-piece. Okay, right, sure, right, go ahead. Anyway, so they get talking. So it's Kyra, Liz, Jason, of course. AJ joins them in the jacuzzi, and what I think is noteworthy is that AJ makes, I don't want to be sarcastic and say he makes a beeline, but AJ makes a beeline for the jacuzzi, passing Alexis on the way. I think that spoke volumes. What do you think?
Cupid for $10.
So anyway, the jacuzzi scene, we have KG and Amber sitting down discussing Ron and Kissing Gate. You know, of course, while she had been talking with them, she had shown some surprise, or he had shown some surprise as to the turn of events. Apparently, they weren't as close as he thought they were, because he wasn't aware of this new information. So he wants to, you know, check in and see if, you know, things are as they seem. And so, you know, they go back and forth. You know, he's like, oh, you know, first of all, he gives her a compliment, like, oh, you really, you know, she really came for you. But, and she was like, yeah, but I'm tough, don't worry about it. He's like, yeah, give her the compliment. It was really just, okay, so the scene didn't really clear up much for me, but maybe in real life it did, or maybe they're just, you know, they're just playing with us at this point. But anyway, you know, by the end of the scene, they've made up and they're all good. So they're back to being, you know, the perfect couple again. Once again, like I said, I'm not really fazed by these two, you know. Like, yeah, I'm curious to see how this rolls out. Maybe not even during the reunion, but maybe after. So anyway, moving on. So back into the jacuzzi scene, you see Kyra and AJ kind of going back and forth, and it seems like, you know, a spirited banter that they're having, or a spirited debate of some sort. And then of course Alexis is on the side, you know, enjoying, reveling in the fact that maybe she has a chance. So as I said last week, she knows that, you know, Kyra low-key is his first choice. She knows this because she knows this. And so she's looking for cracks in the foundation, and she sees that they have a tendency to have, you know, spirited conversations as opposed to peace and calm, you know. And so she's kind of discussing with Joel and V about how, yeah, you know, maybe he needs to know what's good for him, that maybe, you know, it just seems that they don't appear to be getting on, so she doesn't understand his attraction to Kyra. Says it's not your place to understand why he's attracted to somebody else. What your place is to determine if you have a place with him. And I think you already kind of know that you don't, but you're hoping. And that's human. That's human nature to hope. So keep the dream alive by hoping, but don't waste time trying to analyze human behavior, particularly when you're involved in that equation. You know, you can retrospectively look at it and say but while it's live, I don't think you're not doing yourself any favors by trying to analyze his behavior with somebody else on a dating show where you're meant to be dating each other. But I digress. Let's keep it moving. So we move on to the morning after, and I think the first thing they show us is, you know, Joel talking. He and V share the room. You know, spirited conversation in different chats about, you know, maybe this is not the first time they share the room, as, you know, it's nobody's business, but they share the room, you know. And I think the only thing to discuss here is whether it's not whether they did or they didn't, you know, but sometimes what's implied is stronger than what actually is.
Thankfully, there's no 2 a.m. walk of shame visual, or is there?
So anyway, so they go into the kitchen scene. You see, really aside, but I'll give Carrie this, you know, she's in this sweater set. It's made out of, you know, it's a sweater jersey, but it's like a short set with a little, you know, halter, tiny shorts, and then a big sweater. I thought it was an interesting look, but yeah, it looked interesting compared to everybody else. And they kind of do the breakfast scene, and, you know, I think what I got from this scene is that yes, it's true, because I think AJ actually confirms it in this scene that they tend to have spirited banter. But the thing is that's probably what he finds a challenge, as opposed to where, you know, other people or other females in his past may fall over him because he might fit a certain spec. She doesn't seem to be falling for that or falling like that, and he seems challenged and interested, which hence always comes back to the point when people say that, you know, the males are the hunters, and so they're in it for the chase. So he's in it for the chase. Whether they have spirited banter or not, he's in it for the chase. Moving on. So next date, that, you know, the morning after, you know, Jason decides to take Kyra, you know, off, just have a conversation with her it appears. So play tennis, they don't play, they play. She can't play, he's not that great either, so they mess around for a couple of seconds, it appears, and then they stop and decide to go for the real point, which is the conversation about what's going on. And I think on Kara's side, she's noticing an energy shift, and she's wondering if he actually has shifted his focus to Liz. And on his side, which is, I mean, I have said in the past that I wonder if, you know, Kara's his main choice, but he's shifting to Liz because he's not sure where Kyra lays. And I think this scene kind of cements that, because, you know, his question is, what do you want? Now, that's an odd question because he's also caught between two people, so I'm not sure where he gets off actually asking somebody, what do you want? Yeah, because he's in the same predicament. And then going on to, you know, another thing he says, he's saying that he wants, as in he's the captain waiting for the general to tell him what to do, some kind of analogy like that. So in essence, he's saying he's waiting for her to tell him what to do, that he won't make a choice until she makes a choice. So essentially, he's playing the game. That's what it sounds like to me. Like he's expecting her to come out on a limb, but he hasn't come out on a limb. He hasn't categorically says, Liz, no, yes, Kyra. And I don't, honestly, I don't blame him either, but I'm not sure why he expects her to come out on the limb if he won't come out on the limb. You know? And I don't think, and that's another problem with this show that I think is, it actually does reflect what's really going on, where I think traditionally one would think that it would be the man who would come out and stake his claim, make his position known, say this is where I am and this is what I want, without, not with regard of whether he loses or not, but just knowing he stood his position and stated his case. And if he loses and he goes on, nurses his wounds and goes on to fight another war. But he's not even trying to do that. He's trying to play it safe. And I think as people, male and female, each person, as a female myself, we both occupy two energies, male and female energy, and sometimes one is over the other. Whereas you see females who tend to be strong, you know, sometimes they have trouble kind of sitting in their feminine energy, whereas you see some males who are very well in touch with their feminine energy. And not to stereotype or cast him into a certain light, but it seems like he's almost kind of occupying his feminine energy, where he's expecting her to state her position before he states his. Sir, if that's what you were doing, because now we know the edits are all running mad, but if that is the case, that doesn't speak well for you being what you say you want to be, or saying who you are. State your case, say what you want, and let the chips fall where they may. So anyway, so that's what it looks like he's literally waiting for her to say yes, you, or no, it's not you, for him to make the choice. And then I guess part of his, to support this kind of, you know, this, what he's saying that she has had some tendency to really do shallow stuff. We haven't witnessed anything. I can't say yes or no, but his experience of her is that they haven't really dipped, that she seems guarded, and they've just been going through the shallow phase. They haven't really dug deep, or he doesn't feel they've dug as well as Liz. This is all subjective. That's his opinion of what we all know what opinions are. Everyone has one. And so, you know, Kyra's position in, I only give Kyra points because she's not succumbing to pressure. She's saying now that where she sees it, she wants to go through the entire process before making a decision. You know, however he feels. I've said, you know, I've accused him of small boy energy, and this kind of small boy energy is just someone who is not standing in his masculine majority of or constantly, particularly in important situations like this. Stand your ground, say this is what you want. If you don't, you know, but you said what you said. But in this situation, it doesn't appear to be that he said what he said. He's hinted at it. I want you, I don't want you. Do you want me? You don't? All right, cool, let's keep it moving. That's just how I feel it should be in, you know, in life. I don't know if, you know, things have changed, you know, but that's how it should be. Moving on. So the next date is AJ and Alexis. They go to this, you know, like a penthouse kind of scene where they can see, you know, the ranch 360, nice, they've got breeze, blah, blah, blah. Lexus had a bright idea of wearing a hat, so, you know, she's probably doing this most of the time and holding her mind. Anyway, so to the point, you know, she's been able to sleep on her approach to him because the night prior, yeah, she had, you know, had approached him with the energy about, yeah, you know, when I were you when I needed, blah, 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 you know, and he wasn't having it. So I think she's readjusting her approach and, you know, kind of blaming it on, you know, her not being able to get out the stuff that she had to talk about with Amber. Okay, so it's out now, so she's apologizing, whatever the case may be. And so she apologized for that. Then she also compliments him by saying, you know, his energy is calming, that he didn't kind of respond he didn't match her energy, but just kind of kept it cool, which is what he did because he don't care. That's just my opinion. So, and he returns compliments, you know, they're both kind of playing representative here, where he says that she creates the space or allows him, or creates the peace to allow him to be like that, to respond like that, as opposed to flaring up. And once again, you know, which I think she does a lot, you know, she comes up with this sidebar comment about, yeah, she has some concerns about him, about not wanting him to continue in dysfunction. And she's simply referring to the fact that, I don't know if everybody is you know, clocked this, that, you know, when he and Kara are conversing, it tends to be, you know, spirited, combative sometimes, some may say. And so she's giving him advice. Problem here is you're involved in this triangle, so your advice is suspect. Even if it's accurate, it's suspect. So keep your advice to yourself right now. So, you know, yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure. I mean, it's a show. Maybe that gives her extra time, because I would like to believe that she knows that giving that information is what one would take with a pinch of salt. I wouldn't take that kind of advice seriously, because you have something to gain by giving that kind of advice. But she goes on to say that something about she wants him to get the things he needs to change him into who he wants to be, or to help him change. Yeah, stop it. Yeah. And so they go into that conversation of, so I guess when she says that about, you know, him being with someone who has the tools to help him kind of, you know, change some things, he goes on to say, you know, he's playing a game with her right now. So he's writing his elements. Alexis is writing his elements here, where he now says, you know, what people do in terms of doing what they want versus what they need, or going for who they want versus who they need. I don't know how many times he can say this. So what in essence he's saying, he don't want you. He may need you, but some people may need enemas. Does that make me want an enema? So do I want to liken her to an enema? But is an enema pleasurable? No. So she asked him, so where are you? Or where's your heart? And his response is, again, another flag that she should be paying attention. What you need may not be exciting. For the exciting option, go for the safe option. So let me repeat the question. So she says, where's your heart? And he goes on to bumble stuff about what you may need is not necessarily exciting, but what you should go for is the safe option. And that's her. So the exciting option is not what he needs. It's a safe option he should go for. Yeah, I don't think you should start a relationship off with going for safe versus exciting, as opposed to finding a happy medium. So he's separating it, you know, safe, not exciting. That's what you need. But what you want is exciting. Alexis, I think he said it wrong, but let's continue. So he talks about what, you know, when people are used to doing what they usually do, as opposed to doing what they should be doing to make progress. So I guess that's just kind of talking about, you know, patterns. Old behavior, old patterns lead you to the same paths. So he's saying he's I guess clocking that I'm following. I do have my old patterns. I'm used to doing what I used to do. instead of doing what I should do to create progress. Yo, we talk around in circles. I'm sorry. You talk around in circles. And I think at the end of this monologue, Alexis clocked that. We were like very flowery way of saying, yo, I'm not feeling you. You're safe. You're boring. You're not my first choice. But I'm going to play along until I don't need to play along. Essentially, that's what I heard. That's what I heard. All right. So anyway, you know, they end the day to give her a hug. And I think gives her a hug, but what was interesting was he wasn't tempted for a kiss. Alexis had to prompt him and say, oh, I'm only going to get a hug. Now, we can play back and maybe play back to maybe a scene with Jason and Liz. He wasn't asked. He seemed like he was, you know, he had two minds, like he didn't want to, but he did. Whereas he had to be asked for a peck, and he gave her a peck. I think that says everything we need to hear. Looks like his words are saying one thing, but his actions are saying another. And actions speak louder than words. And I know that, you know, Alexis understands this. Let's see it. She's playing along too. Or hoping. She's hoping along. Moving on. Get to the next scene, you know, they're back in like the little lounge area where there's the pool table. And once again, this has happened a couple of times, which is why I want to kind of actually acknowledge it now. It seems in various times over a couple episodes, Amber seems anxious to constantly reassure us, her, or KG that they're strong and they're solid. She always makes statements about how strong they are.
Sis, blink 3 times if you need a SEAL team to come rescue you.
All right, so and then this scene, Tommy rides on a horse looking uncomfortable in all black. It's hot, it's cold, I don't know. But, so after nephew Tommy's arrival, first scene, he goes to sit down with, initially it's AJ and Jason. He excuses AJ, sits down with Jason, says, yo, bruh, I'm between two women. Who are you going to pick? You're going to ride off into the sunset with use your guts and use your heart. Who is it going to be? And then, you know, Jason goes on to say that, yeah, you know, his dad always told him that love was not confusing. You know, blah, 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 blah. Long and short of it, he going to ride out with Liz. Okay, I see you, sir. All right, let's see how it goes. Let's see. That's what I can say. So, today, he's picked Liz. Next person he sits down with is KG. Of course, we know it's Amber. It seems almost, and I don't know if that's like in the, you know, when they're in the booth and he's getting his little monologue on. It seems the questioning puts him on the defense. So he seems to be defending his choice about how they're this or they're that. But anyway, he's picking Amber and he said he'd rather be slapped with the truth than be kissed with a lie. Like constantly his conversation is to defend his choice. Make of it what you may. Next, we know Joel is going with V. He messed up a couple of times, so he's going to sit tight because nobody else is here. So the thing is, if you think about it, which is why I think maybe the premise of the show needs to change. They seem almost locked in their choices so they can get to the final. Maybe they shouldn't be chucking people off. Maybe they should allow people to leave. If they don't find their choice and then leave, then of course people might form alliances just to stay. I don't know, but it's not, this system's not working. So it's like, you know, even if, you know, Joel and V aren't good or aren't great, why would they leave now? I think they get paid for each episode they stay on. So why would they leave right now? They stay, they get more exposure. Why would they leave right now? So anyway, Joel and V, they're together. So now we get to the meat of the episode. So he's approaching AJ. I guess he left AJ to last. Oh, they cut it to last. However they did it. So, you know, it seems he's talking to AJ. You know, he lets AJ know that Jason has chosen Liz. And so that means whoever AJ chooses, it means the other person's going to be eliminated. So essentially now it's like he's stuck in between two places. it appears almost all of a sudden, you know, AJ is now an empath and is feeling emotions. He doesn't want either one of them to go home. I don't get it. But anyway, so nephew Tommy gives him extra time, says, you know what, I'm going to give you some more time. So 1 minute it's still daylight, next time he comes back, you know, it's evening now, and so they've now set up a date. He set up another date with Kyra to have a conversation with her, because they tend to have a tendency to struggle with communication, so they want to communicate. And so, you know, he goes straight to the point. He's like, you know what, where are you with me, you know? And then she, you know, belts out her little tune. It's been fine-tuned where she can't really choose anyone, you know. Jason asked her the same thing. She want to ride it till wheels fall off. She want to get to the end before she make a choice. And then AJ's like, yo, sis, well, looks like this is your last day here. Okay, bye. He holding her hand and he don't want to let go. He's holding her hand and don't let go. And so, you know, even prior to that, before he kind of spat that out, you know, he's telling how gorgeous she is. She's amazing. Da, da, da. She's all these things. You know, thank you for giving me a second chance after, you know, I did the El Cheapo move. Anyway. So, even right before he actually told all that, you know, he kind of told, when they kind of had that conversation, she said she wanted to ride the wheels fall off. He did mention, he was honest with her where he said, I feel like you're straddling the fence. And I'm hearing this from both people, so I'm inclined to believe that there's something there, that maybe she's being guarded, maybe she's not opening, maybe she's trying to play the game without giving anything, being forthcoming, because he's saying the same thing. So anyway, they go to the process, last day in the process, but he keeps holding her hand, and then he turns to her and it's like, oh no, then he explains to her, it's like, look, Jason has picked Liz, so you know, that means I've let you go home, or would you want to be with me? It's never happened before. This just boils down to what we've known. AJ wants Kyra, but he don't know if Kyra wants him. And Kyra's not sure of him because she knows him to be a player. And herein lies the problem. And so then they, you know, they give us snips, but look like, what's he gonna do? So he's now going to reverse what he said when he told her, yeah, it was her last night here, and he's now going to dismiss Alexis. The truth is, he doesn't want Alexis. He might like her, she might be cool. He doesn't want her. He wants Kyra, at least for now. Yeah. So that's kind of where, I guess, as we're getting towards the end, it's almost like all these cliffhangers to keep us, you know, waiting, anticipating. We're not anticipating, we're just looking like, yo. Because it seems like a lot of the cast members, unlike prior seasons, are very active on social media now, doing lives, doing interviews. So we're getting a lot of insight beforehand and seeing that what we're seeing play out on a reality show was so far from reality that there must be more than one script going on. They have production or assistant writers, all these things going on, because, so yeah. So now it looks like maybe that's not the case. It sounds like something beautifully written at this point. So I'm just kind of observing. So anyway, guys, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and I'm back with you next week to confirm that AJ decided to keep his number 1 and to send number 2 home. I suspect it was all part of production, moving mad. We'll see. We'll see if there are any confessions. Anyway, thank you very much. Lola, over and out.